Yeah, thanks very much for joining. My name is Hossein Rahnama. I'm a visiting professor here at MIT Media Lab, professor in Toronto, founder of a company called Flybits. I spent a lot of my career over the past 10 years really focusing on context-aware computing. Like, how do you really bring a lot of data from different places, understand the context, and building no-code tools so non-computer scientists can create these context-aware personalized data. When I think about it, that paradigm is shifting. You know, in the past, we had data repositories, centralized everything, allowed people to mine that data, model that data, and push things to our devices. So I believe in a model that personalization is changing towards participation, that users can co-create. And instead of us relying on centralized recommendation systems, what if we actually use AI to encapsulate our expertise and lend it as lenses to other people so we can filter information based on the expertise of others. So I've had the opportunity to work at the Human Dynamics group at the MIT Media Lab, working on this notion of perspective-aware AI. So instead of thinking about human-computer interaction in which you deal with a cold silicon and then you think about the ergonomics and the usage pattern between the human and machine, I actually want to put AI in the background, allowing us to communicate better. So instead of building decision-making systems from AI, I'm very interested in building decision support systems. To tell you about the technicalities, I am focusing on a capability called ontological reasoning and building reason-ready graphs. So you can do structural learning on very large data on multimodal basis. You understand image data, text data, sentiment analysis from emails. We vectorize them and create embeddings from all of that data. We interface with LLMs and then we create these situation functions, and on different time intervals, if you look at the bottom, we create these graphs called chronicles. So as you go about your daily life, your chronicles will get updated. Now, these chronicles are essentially the process of creation of reason-ready graphs. We use ontologies, we use open source ontologies like Dulce, we customize them, we model them, and then as you go about your life, in every single intervals, we update that graph. I don't have a lot of time to show you, but we are basically creating causal inference within these graphs. We update these graphs based on the semantics in which we get the data from. And then as you go about your daily life within the semantics that you're in, the graphs will get updated. So if you think about our system, it has two core areas. Creation of the graph, which is reasoning and structural learning. And then the second part is anchoring the graph for the purpose of generation. We have published a few papers on this. The last one was at the IIA that we presented in Vancouver around digital human. And we do that on interval basis with the goal of encapsulating your expertise into these graphs. We don't store these locally. These are all about orchestration between tiny models, personalized models, and LLMs. We believe this as a solar system of models. The Earth is your capability, your model. There is an orbit of a bunch of other models that your organizations may have, from neurocollaborative filters to causal inference to fuzzy systems to Bayesian systems. And then the outer orbit could be the LLMs and the foundation models. We don't believe that large companies, especially the regulated ones, should store and localize that. So the ecology of orchestration between those is what we are working on. I want to tell you a little bit about the applications of this, and happy to tell you more about it. This is an example. We created a language similar to, I want to call it a syntax. If you think about Twitter, you have hashtags and handles. We all know how to use that. So my team and I are creating a language called iGenerate. So instead of hashtags, we use parentheses. So you say, I want to generate a lens from this chronicle and apply it to this technology. So as an example, if you think about a travel scenario, you can basically use this syntax and say, I want to generate, let's say, looking at Paris through the lens of this individual when I go there. So instead of relying on, centralized recommendation systems, you can actually see what that person went to that city, what they did, what they bought. So we are now partnering with credit card companies. This is where open banking becomes interesting correlating it with a bunch of other offer networks. So instead of an offer engine telling me what to buy and what not to buy, I can actually look at that city through the lens of my friends and what did they do when they were in there, what they listened to on Spotify, what they bought in that bakery, where they went and walked. We also applied this to HR. This is the digital twin of our office. So we use Gaussian splatting to really create these digital twins from an office. It's the exact replica with a lot of granularity of our office. You just say, I want to generate a lens from the CEO to look at the office today. We have integrated with data from our HR systems, payroll systems, tax systems, and now you can go to that digital twin and then look at the office through the lens of different chronicles. So the chronicle could be the CEO. The chronicle could be an intern who just started today. So a lot of companies that are interested to work with is that when I come to this office, of course, it's the physical space, but what does the head of ESG think about? What does the intern think about? What are the priorities for CEO? And when we think about the future of work, we think interfaces like this allows us to really bring us closer together and increase collaboration. This is a spatial thing that we are now doing with Apple Vision Pro. We are working with a very famous chef and a nutritional expert and a longevity expert. So when you're reading things, your objective analysis, data that you're getting from blood work, objective analysis will all play a role to filter information for you. So for example, when you go to a restaurant, you want to say, what should I order? Based on all the metrics that are available in your chronicle. This is an example that we are building for the Media Lab. When you come to the Media Lab, you want to look at a project through the lens of other different professors. One could be interested in sustainability, the other one AI, the other one implications of data. So as you are exploring research papers, projects, you can basically wear different lenses and see what different professors do when they are in a context like yours. From retrieving research data all the way to getting to know your professors. When my professor has 5 minutes to his or her lecture, where would she go usually for lunch? And these are the things that we are working on, allowing people to develop perspectives from their knowledge without exposing privacy data. These are all working prototypes, and we can share that with you later. Up until now, everything I showed you, we applied our technology into what I call screen AI. I think this notion of, we just use Gen AI for document summarization and all that, it's all good, but it's becoming a given. So we are very interested in this notion of creating perspectives, even for mission critical things. We have a project in Homeland Security. I'm making a decision. My mentors and colleagues are not here. I want to quickly wear their lens and see if they were in my situation, what would they do? At the end of the day, I'll make the decision, but I have access to expertise that I trust. We also applied this to, this is another video, but I can't play it. That's a picture of my younger daughter. We are applying this to robotics for children-robot interaction. So as they are interacting with the robot, the ontologies that I talk about gets updated. So I can incorporate some of my value system and what I believe into that ontology. When the kids are talking to the robot, it basically manifests and instantiate that ontology on a multimodal basis. This is an old robot, but you can do multimodal systems from showing it, images or drawings and talk to it using sonar. So this has been a very interesting project for us in terms of really understanding how we can apply perspective-aware computing in robotic systems, especially in robot children and robot human interactions. This is a real thing. This project started at MIT about 5 years ago. I used to call it augmented eternity, like allowing you to really encapsulate your knowledge and kind of pass it along to different generations. It evolved to become more like an expertise sharing platform, but there's still a lot of interest on that. And the same engine is now being applied to virtual and visual effects. We work with the former director of VFX for Harry Potter, Sony Studios. So we are now working on these, you call them deep fakes. We can 3D scan your face in less than 5 minutes, connect it to our engine. That's our Chronicle builder that I'm now working at the Media Lab to really make it available to everyone. That is a real documentary from Deutsche Welle, the public television in Germany. The reporter came to our lab. I recorded all of his conversations. He shared some of that with me in advance. We created his avatar. We connected his facial expressions to sentiment analysis so I could actually interview the avatar. Now, these are early days of this, but we have a lot of interest, let's say, from corporations. I have a CEO of a Fortune 50 who doesn't want to be named. He started the company, he's in his 80s. He's like, oh, I want to leave my legacy behind for my leadership team to have access to some of my expertise. Now, technologically, I think there is a lot that we can do now. What I'm really interested in, which is missing, is the ethical aspects of this, and how do you really build this as a storytelling machine and an ethical machine rather than an avatar telling you what to do. So examples of this is you can tell a story. I'm going through my first M&A. And then the avatar can say, when I was in that situation, this is what happened to us. In a family, I have a number of people, unfortunately, with terminal illness that approach us and say, I want to create a legacy behind. But we are very careful to tell these into stories rather than do this or do that. So again, it's that approach of building decision support versus decision-making systems. So the reason I show you this is that you can, of course, apply this to what I call screen AI, for, rendering conversation or rendering icons or chatbots. But you can really think about what this can do in other dimensions, whether it's robotics, whether it's kind of recreation of expertise and creating perception. And the last thing I talk about, hopefully this is an image, so the video works. This is one of my newest initiatives and very interested to collaborate. This is about the future of work. So if you think about an organizational chart, I think many of us are familiar with what you see there. You have a hierarchy, project comes in, and the decision makers are, based on time availability, budget, the sensitivity of the client, I want to pull a team together and deliver. So one of our projects is the orchestration of the chronicles that I talked about. So think about that task as a prompt coming to your organization or subunit. The chronicles that you have created can now collaborate using decentralization, using orchestration, using proper anchoring mechanics that is not your whole chronicle. These are the expertise that you got to fetch from your graph. And we are doing some interesting things with Google on this. Now, the first base of your work will be done by the chronicles. And this is what I really like this, because this is not replacing jobs. Your job is go about your life and learn and do things, and that will manifest itself into your chronicle representation. You will still need to come together and figure out how you're going to finish the work, but you're not going to start from a first blank canvas. So this is our newest initiative. We are working with a number of organizations that are interested to explore this. So looking forward to stay connected. Yeah.